Weaver John C. from Roseman, California. It's March 27th, 2021. It's 10:10 in the morning. It's hard enough for me to do all these videos and audio recordings about my life. A lot of videos are out there to talk about how I've been dealing and coping with life on its terms, and it's been kicking me in the ass ever since. I did a lot of audio recordings trying to talk about how life has affected me a great deal, especially dealing with death of loved ones, and in the isolation of COVID-19, and dealing with every other damn issue that keeps popping up left and right. And what gets to me is the triggers that I keep dealing with. Excuse me. The triggers that I keep dealing with that keeps bringing me to my knees. Watching a Magnum PI show repeat on cable. Not of the old days of 1980s, but currently when there was a character that meant to damn to other characters. It's like part of their family. And then when they passed away, and they're showing how it affected one particular person, is like a major trigger in me. In my videos for the past couple of years, I've been trying to talk about death, life, politics, education, viewpoints. I get thrown up the disclaimer saying that I don't know a damn thing, and I'm not observing, and actually I've been going through a hell of a lot. And it's hard as hell for me to do so. Even admit to sending things to people. And the only source of companionship and emotional release is a dog that's also been through the same situation. Say hello to the camera, mamas. I know, but say hello to the camera anyway, baby. I know she don't like this, but I have to put her on the camera anyway. She has been through a lot of death herself. My own family. I tilt the camera, or turn the camera, to show pictures. The gentleman on the bottom, my big brother, and the other one's my mama. I'm sure a lot of people would probably recognize him. Dave back in 2018, Ma back in 2013. It still hurts like hell. And the picture that you see above them, I'll put this on pause. Word of caution: when one's trying to commiserate outside and trying to record other things, make sure that you don't have anybody around you, otherwise it becomes an embarrassing situation. Anyway, it's hard to talk to people regarding the feelings. If they have no perspective and context, it's easy enough for me to say those damn things. If they haven't walked through the damn crap, then they honestly don't know what they're missing. Pain, grief, loss. Some people or some animals can try to deal with the joy of life and deal with the sunshine and lap it up. Me, I'm more like a damn vampire dealing with a deep pit of darkness and constant pain, constant sorrow. And it's hard to deal with that. It's hard to deal with any of it. I see triggers all around me. I hear triggers. And sometimes it goes in my head that I hear the grinding of the gears and the wheels being put on the tracks once more. And back at it again, we're doing the roller coaster bit. And it hurts like hell. The loss of a loved one is a hard thing to deal with. I have dealt with it all my life, as we all humans have. The closer they are, the worse the pain becomes, and more acute and long-term it becomes. You would just know the person a short time. Maybe you haven't put enough intensity into a relationship to appreciate that person. But even a short-term intense would still leave the feelings. As a child, you don't know how to deal with grief. You're told to suck it in, suck it up. Be a man. Be brave. You learn how to shove it down your dark recesses of your mind, and you just cope. And screw everything else around you and just become dead inside sometimes. Sometimes people wonder what the hell happened to you. It's because you weren't allowed to feel and you weren't allowed to exist because everyone else wants their own way of existing and you're not doing it. You're not complying with everybody. And the only thing I can tell you at that point is it's miserable as hell. It's miserable as hell. My videos are dark. My videos are deep. My videos confuse the crap out of people. But they are real. I don't sugarcoat. I don't do any cutesies with it. I just talk. Alright, I just talk. There is no banner. There is no cutesy intro. I just identify, stamp a time and date, and that's just talk. That's all I do. I talk about what's going on in the head. I talk about what's going on in the heart. I talk about what's going on around me. I just talk. And if I'm going through the emotions, I also talk about that too, because it's what being human is. I don't apologize for it. I am what I am. I don't owe anybody an apology or an explanation, except I will talk. And I will explain, and I will say things. If it pisses people off or doesn't piss people off, that's on them. I'm there to show and act as human as possible. I know some people actually have catchphrases. I don't. I don't. And I bore people to death, and I don't care. When I get into the depressional stage, when I get into the angry stage, when I get into those dark periods of the grief, and whatever kind of mental health crap's going on ahead, I have to talk about it. I have to be realistic. Even if I happen to use language that pisses people off. I'm lucky enough I'm trying to use language that actually sounds like it's language and it's coherent and articulate. People can try to understanding what I'm talking about. But there's been other times I haven't been. I've done too many of these damn things already as it is. I am trying to get past this damn roller coaster right now. I am trying to get past the twists and turns. Because every time I'm in a trigger situation at this point over here, I can't even look at myself in a damn mirror, let alone a damn camera. I'm always looking off to the side because I don't want to see my own damn face. And I can't envision reality right now like that. Because sometimes I don't even like the way I look or appreciate the way I sound. I like watching a television show here and there. I have a few of them that I've grown up with. In the past 2 to 3 years, in the last 2 to 3 years, I should correct that. As some shows actually meant the damn thing, and other things I can't seem to laugh at or find comfort in. But they are entertaining enough where I can actually relate to the characters and to the storylines and everything else. And when they start triggering, it's I don't find blame and I don't find fault on the creators, on the writers, on the script writers, and the proofreaders, and everybody else, and the actors involved, the director, the producers, the network. I don't find fault. I just find triggers. And I have to deal and I have to cope with it. And I have to ride through it. Sometimes I sit in my bedroom on my bed crying my eyeballs out because there's no other place safe enough for me to do so. I hold back in the pain and the tears at this point while I'm doing this video. Having a hard time trying to see the damn screen because of the tears in my eyes. The water gathering from the tear ducts ready to fall upon the face. Or the nose threatening to be closing off air because of much congregation of mucus. And of gunk. I'm fighting back of not bawling my head off on camera. When I get in these situations, I realize I have nobody else around me and I have to find a place to let it go. But if I'm on camera, I have to act a little bit with decorum and be civil, and not show that level of humanity because it might piss people off or upset people, but it also upsets me because I always want to show a presentable side, not a hung down, wild haired shirt with stains all over the thing on a worn black vest that needs more repair work than anything else on it. Broken pieces of taped up lenses that I have to see through. Yeah, reality check. This is not the asking for donations or GoFundMe for this, no. This is a reality check. This is a reality check. This is my reality. This is my life. Constant pain, constant misery, constant grief. I struggle and strive with going through college, of at a later age of my life, of trying to better myself one way or another. And how Something of it got sidetracked when I lost my brother back in 2018. I had made terrible mistakes as a young adult, and I upset Ma terribly. To where she practically threw me out of the house if I didn't get a full-time job. And I had to work. If I couldn't cut her through college, I'd cut her through work. I'd get the damn paycheck and I'd pay bills and I'd pay rent. I pay for the privilege of living under our roof. As hard as hell as that is. But I was a stickler on that one situation. She saw the value of having an education, and I screwed up 2.5 years of college. I didn't know my ass was hot rock as a teenager, and she didn't care. She didn't have the chance of going to high school or going to college herself. She went to tax school and learned how to be an income tax specialist and a bookkeeper. And she was very good at it too. But in her later years, she discovered she could not do it any further and lost people, lost friends, family. My brother and I had to do 24/7 on her until the day she died. Hardest damn things for us to deal with. And it was hard to say goodbye to a dying corpse in a hospital that wasn't coming back to life. And she's gone. She's gone. Hardest damn thing, also the next thing to do is to get our ashes from a crematorium. I still have them in the cabinet. Same one behind me. Or to my side anyway. Along with my brother's ashes. Several years later. Not the easiest damn thing to deal with. It's like 5 years later, my brother's turn. My brother's time. And I'm wondering, maybe, is my time coming up as well? I won't be part of someone else's cabinet. If I am, well, so be it. It's hard enough to look in dealing with my family's ashes all the time. A constant reminder of life ending. As I said before, this is reality check. This is reality I have to face. Of course, you could be screaming at my picture or screaming at anything and just shut me off. That's fine. Everybody else has done so. This is my way to get my pain, my life, my thoughts, my feelings out. Because grief and pain are real. There's no way to medicate it, no way to eat over it, no way to... You just have to deal with it. One day at a time. Some days it gets better, and other days it's a living hell. Especially when the triggers kick in, and it's hard. I'm starting to learn more and more what those damn triggers are and trying to learn how to avoid them, but unfortunately sometimes I just can't. And once they're triggering the subconscious, it goes into the conscious, and then I'm a miserable wreck the rest of the day. Nothing else matters. I go outside and get all the damn sun I want to get roasted alive. I can feel the coolness of the air in my skin. It still doesn't matter. Because inside I still feel dead inside. And it's... speech patterns become more and more erratic. I try to do this as a scientific basis, but it doesn't matter either. someone's going to say that he's probably on the verge of suicidal. Well, you're right. I had been through death before. I have been dead before as a kid. And to set up a lifetime of dealing with fear of life and of death, of God, of angels, and everything else, of anything and everything. A hell of a lot of anger, frustration, confusion. I don't know, maybe even learning disabilities or something, I don't know. Willingness to hide from anything and everybody, including the family that I love so much. And yet I feel like a damn fool and idiot by hiding myself. Growing up as a kid and as an adult, you gotta learn how to be and interact with people left and right, shove your feelings down the throat, shove all the stuff in a corner of your brain and not deal with it for a while. Somebody dies, like, oh well, just chalk it off in your head. But it's not so easy when they get too damn close to you. You get your barriers lowered enough to feel a connection with someone, and then it's gone, and then it's, you can't deal with it. You got to shut it all off again. My brother had tried to prepare me because he was trying to prepare himself for the last few years of my mother's life. We kept having intimate talks concerning about how to deal with death. And I really couldn't tell him to scare the fuck out of me. Because I've been there. And I hate it. We had lost favorite aunts and uncles and grandmother or grandmothers. We lost relatives that are close to us. We had lost favorite pets. Goes without saying. And it seems like I've been losing more and more of myself, but that's the portion of life, isn't it? You have to still find it. You still have to find a way to live. Not to exist, but to find a way to live. Still try to find the joy despite all the damn pain and agony you go through. And how the hell are you supposed to tell someone that one, especially when you're going through the grief? When you see somebody else going through the damn grief, how the hell are you supposed to explain it to them, saying, oh, it's going to be all right. You know it's not going to be all right for the short term because you've already been walking through the damn thing. And it's hard as hell to translate that pain to somebody else. When you compartmentalize yourself and you shut yourself off emotionally left and right, and you shut yourself from your family more in one way or another, there's disconnection. You are separating yourself from yourself. It's like you're taking out a piece of your soul and just threw it somewhere. Not to feel anything or anybody. Not to understand, not to learn, not to grow, not to feel. People do that when they take drugs and they drink alcohol or try to find something to do to get rid of it. And they keep wondering how come young people having a hard time dealing with suicide. Well, they see other friends having issues and they're having issues and they just want to kill themselves because they don't want to deal with the damn pain. They probably laugh at the other people saying, I know what you're going through. I have walked through that pain. I'm like, yeah, sure, right. Because even during that time, it's hard as hell to tell someone else about that. What's really going on inside. That's why you take journals. That's why you write. That's why you record things on recorders. To let people know, to let yourself know what's going on. What kind of a failed human being you feel. I also keep hearing the expressions concerning about moccasins being worn. I suppose some Indians would be, or Native Americans actually would be, insulted because of that one. Or maybe not, I don't know. I know some people just say hell with it, fuck it, throw it away and not deal with it. It's hard to talk to somebody about what's truly going on inside. Even for the family members that you care and love so damn much, that when they're gone, there is absolutely nothing on earth that you can do or say that will fill that damn hole. And then, of course, you have the preachers coming out and pastors trying to make light of it. And the only thing you want to do is tell them to shut the fuck up. Because how the hell would they know unless they've already been through it? Oh no. The experience, the thing of it to tell them is, unless you've died and come back to life, don't talk to me about death. Don't talk to me about losing people left and right unless you've actually walked through my shoes, through my path, through this shit. Because you absolutely have no concept. And that's what hurts to me sometimes, is to talk about that level. I tell them exactly how the hell you're feeling and what you should be doing or trying to take care of yourself. And the only thing you're feeling to do is just stay there like a lump because you're weighted down. I know I'm saying a lot of finger pointing here, you. Well, realize something that every time you keep pointing a finger at them, you're also pointing it at yourself. So I'm also talking about me. I'm also putting myself as a you. So what the hell? I'm not going to sugarcoat how it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat how feeling miserable is. I'm not going to sugarcoat, and I'm not going to give credence, and I'm not going to give permission or clearance to end a life. As much as I feel like I want to end my own at times, I can't. It's not refusing. It's I can't. Of course, someone that hasn't understand ask me why. Because unless you walk through my own damn path, you'll never know. And how is it I can explain it to you if you haven't walked through my path? It's kind of circular logic, don't you think? Unless you already died as a young kid, came back to life, terrified of life and death and of God and everything else, and then lived through that life, and not to mention seeing everybody else that you cared about died around you, and you've been told things to shove it aside and just deal and walk through life and stiff upper lip and all that shit and feel happy and rejoice that they're in heaven and you should feel happy. And all you want to do is get a baseball bat and have fun with their heads. I said, does this feel happy? Does this feel happy and joyful and celebrating death? There have been times I have thought of that, even as an adult. Losing Ma, I hadn't separated from my mother since day one, except maybe a school camping trip here and there. But for the most part, I stayed with my mother all the way up until the day she died. She died in 2013. I was born in, that must have been about 47 years of my life. 47 years of my life with her. And I had dealt with everything I thought I could, except to deal with her own mortality and losing, and seeing it lost every single day as she laid in her bed and trying to work a full-time job, then get injured, and caregiving at that point, taking care of your mother, taking care of your disabled brother, while he's trying to take care of his same mother. It was complicated. Maybe for a lot of people, but for us it was simple enough anyway. We did what we did because we're family, and family does that for each other. We were there for each other. We weren't going to be putting each other in a damn nursing home. We did the 24/7. We did the dirty work. We cleaned up the laundry. We cleaned up the house constantly. We cleaned up her mess if we had to. We couldn't do the medical stuff, so we got the medical stuff for her. And we had specialists coming over to take a look at her. We did everything we could, even beyond what was expected. I did the same thing for my brother until he passed away. Mama, when she passed away, Dave and I were struggling like crazy, trying to keep her alive. And then the fire department worked on her for a half hour until they got her up, and then the long, slow crawl down for 19 agonizing days, or 18. It was in February, and it was a month of hell. And we had to say goodbye, me and Dave. Her body just wasn't going to support her any longer. She was already slipping beyond the veil. Her body just decided to give out. She had already gone, and she was just there. It hit us worse than a sledgehammer in the chest. Couldn't breathe because we had the sledgehammer on top of our chest. We couldn't function because we had a sledgehammer on top of our chest. We couldn't even breathe in and out if we wanted to because we had the chest concaved with the damn sledgehammer. I was surprised we didn't break our own bones. With the amount of grief and pressure we had put on ourselves. And it took me and David a hell of a long while with a lot of talking to a lot of friends. And actually having someone coming over with us to get the paperwork signed. And the thing of it is, I didn't feel what I should have been feeling at that time. That I should have been feeling the spirit of Ma and an escort taking her back to heaven. I should have felt it. I should have heard it. It just wasn't meant. And at times I get pissed off at God because of that one. I get pissed off at God because of what the hell has been going on. Somehow she willed herself down the road. The last several years of her life, she just couldn't deal with the pain and grief any longer. Despite she having her kids with her, she knew me and my brother could try taking care of each other if we could. We've done it all our lives. She just gave up. And it pissed me off as I wake up 5 years later in the same place you're viewing. My brother's in the same place where I am right now, struggling for breath. And I'm on the phone with 911 trying to get help. He's sitting there and he's leaning against his cane and he's struggling. And they get him into a wheelchair, actually to get him into a gurney. We get him into the ambulance. I get the gear necessary and calling the numbers for assistance again. And it should have felt odd. It should have felt odd, and it didn't. This was back in September of 2018. And I should have felt the cold chill. I should have felt that all I was feeling is terrified. And I'm thinking, God, no, don't, Dave, please. I'm running over towards the emergency room pedestrian area, going through it, talking to security about what the hell's going on. And then I hear him telling me to go inside. And the pit of my stomach grew to a black hole, devouring every kind of sense I had except outrage. My brother didn't fight. And I didn't know who the hell that was on the table. It was my brother. It was my brother, and I couldn't. I always had security throw my ass out. I had to have some kind of priest or someone trying to comfort me, and at that point I didn't want comfort. I needed help. That's why I kept calling my friends and managed to get at least a couple of people out. And I felt like shuddering and shaking like crazy, as I felt like right now as it is. And again, that sledgehammer's on my chest. Because I'm feeling the same damn grief. Going through the memories as triggers as well. And I remember it vividly enough that I had to collect junk for my brother later that day. But for the first portion of it, I had to. I didn't know what to think. Someone had taken me down to the cafeteria and gotten some food for me because I hadn't eaten. And I'm trying to process this because my brother just died. I had been to the hospital too many damn times with my mother and too many damn times with my brother over the past 15 years since coming out here to the valley, to the Antelope Valley, and seeing how many times he kept trying to deal with his own medical issues. That this one last time just didn't feel like it. Just didn't feel like it was it. I didn't feel or hear or see the man with the cycle in a hooded robe. I didn't see the funny caricature of death. Nor did I feel the iciness of it. I felt empty. I felt lost. I felt a change in my own universe for the worse. And I had to deal with life constantly throwing spitballs at me during that time. That I really didn't give myself enough time to grieve the loss or feel the loss. And the irony of it, I just started college again. I just started another semester and had to cancel everything because I couldn't deal with it. It was a good thing I could do it on phone apps. They had phone apps I could do it actually online. And I had to tell the professors I had to cancel classes because of death in the family. That I couldn't be bothered looking into my own damn self. I couldn't be bothered with anything except be stunned. Be stunned. You're in a constant state of shock. And that living and sleeping where you are at that time has to change. And I'll tell you something, when the change becomes permanent, sometimes I wondered how I ever lived, and originally I'm still in a state of shock right now, even as I explained this on video. And there's no simple way. There's no short video to deal with this. There is none. Being glib about it, being short about it because people's short attention span, I don't care. This is what I've been through. I'm still in a state of shock in talking about this because reliving it is, I still have the sledgehammer on my chest. I have a hard enough time trying to get the breath in and out because of the pressure of the memory, of the trauma. I can't see myself in the mirror or look at myself directly in the camera because of this. I'm talking to the side, seeing another, or trying to envision another person being there as I'm trying to explain it to them. But to myself, I can't, I won't. I'm not going to. Because it's hard enough for me to look at myself in the mirror sometimes and not being able to smile at myself on some days. When the triggers kick in, when the depression and the grief gets so damn badly, there's nothing I can say or do at this point over here that allows me to express anything. This is a grief trigger day. And I have to deal and cope with what's going on. I won't like it. I don't like to deal with it. I have to cope with it. It's not the easiest damn thing in the world, coping with death. Coping with loss with the people that you loved much. I love them so damn much. I know they knew it. But I also regret not saying it enough to them. I also regret not doing enough for them in life of what I should have done a long time ago and I didn't. And I have those pains and those memories. I have the pictures on my phone. I have pictures and flash drives and micro drives. I have family history, as much as I can gather. Only in pictures. Some videos I've saved because I didn't want to get rid of them. Others I wish I hadn't. And I regret those even more. I feel like an aged caretaker, not a caregiver. Because now I'm caretaking for a property. I am caretaking their ashes, their memories, the past lives. I feel like I'm also living in a field of mortuary, of stone, of graves, of placards, of crows, of mist along a ground, perpetual doom and darkness. And that's only during the sunshine. But it still feels the same. It still feels the same. I have such emotional trauma lying into me, or at this point settling on my chest, that it's hard for me to talk even louder than usual because of the pain and the grief. As I said before, when I get these triggers, they get them hard. And it's difficult to deal with them. I know some of those are dealing with death or the idea of killing yourselves because you don't want to deal with it any longer. Trust me, I know. There have been days and nights I lay in bed thinking about that. And I still move on. Because some days I'm a devastated wreck, and other days I'm functional. If I happen to get a little bit of a cat nap in my age, it kind of helps me out a little bit to settle me out. Not the amount of coffee that I keep drinking or the juices or even the water, even though I do need the stuff going down my throat. Even sometimes just a little bit of a nap can help out a little bit. Some people say you're sleeping too much. Well, it depends on your level of depression at this point, I suppose. At least I know for mine, it sucks. It hurts. I hurt. I'm in pain. I grieve. I'm not functional. I'm not even functional physically sometimes. And mentally, I'm just as bad. But I deal, I function, I live. It's not life as we know it. It's life as it is. And saying concerning about the religious aspect, when I was 4 years old, I was not indoctrinated into any organized religion or belief. I just had the experience of dying 3 times and coming back to life. Going through that tunnel to see somebody else on the other side kept telling me, it's not your time. It's not your time. Go home. And I wanted to be home, which was, I wanted to be in heaven. Because I didn't like what was going on. I didn't want to feel what was going on. I was a scared 4 years old. What do you expect? No matter how many times I kept talking to priests growing up about it, they just never had the concept because they'd never been through what I've been through. They didn't have the perspective or perception. They didn't have context. None of it. Unless they walked through my shoes, unless they walked through my path, there is nothing we relate to. But I was still indoctrinated into religion. Brought up as a Methodist Christian. And I still had a hard time trying to relate with God. I've had a few spiritual experiences as a kid, beyond death, trying to get me connected with God. And I may have felt the energy, I may have felt the peace at that time, but then it went away and I was still filled with the dread and fear and anger. But at least something was aware of me and I was aware of it, and it was still pissing me off and it was still scaring the shit out of me. There had to be points in my life that I had to reach for that entity out there. I say, look, I can't deal, I can't cope, I need help. I didn't have the spiritual awakening as I thought other people might have. I was terrified enough of everything else as it is. I was terrified of my own life as it is. It was hard as hell for me to deal with people like that, let alone myself. How can I deal with the entity of God like that if I was kicked out of heaven? Because it wasn't my time. And it scares me every time I keep thinking about that, because sometimes I keep wondering, when is it going to be my time? Especially I kept looking forward to more, trying to live and trying to exist instead of being dead all the time. And that was way before Ma and Dave died. And then when they died, I started looking more for death and the release instead of looking forward to life and living it. And the promise I made to my family a long time ago. I made the promise to my deceased mother and my brother when he was living at the time that I'd finish what I'd started a long time ago with the education stuff. Just to see how far I can go in college. And so far, 5.5 years later, I'm holding a pretty decent average. Better than I had a hell of a long while ago and no danger of failing. But just keep chugging on. And I know Mom, my brother are happy about that. It would disappoint the living crap out of them if I happened to say that I still want to die. Because I can't stand dealing with the grief and pain. And I know they know that. I just feel it sometimes. They would want me to continue on to do whatever I can deal with life. And not just be vegetative, but just live somehow. Even if I happen to do all these recordings like crazy and might cost me an arm and a leg and then some, but I have to get these thoughts and feelings out. Long-term, long-winded as they are, I have to get this stuff out. It's important to me and it's important to people and it's important, period. May consider it a hell of a long lecture at this point. But this is not a lecture. I'm just talking. And that's all I can do for right now. I needed to get this off my chest because once I get off this recording of mine, there's going to be shit happening here and I don't like it. I have to deal and I have to look at myself in the mirror and I wonder, is it all worth it? It has to be. It has to be. So, I probably bored you to death, whoever's been listening. I probably tormented your logic and your hearing at this point. I have probably put you into a catatonic state to where you're praying, tell him to shut the fuck up. Well, you had to open up the genie's bottle now, didn't you? You had to open up Pandora's box. A little humor I could find. A little humor, but not much. Of which I'll be putting my brain back to sleep again. And hopefully waking up again and maybe feeling a little bit better to feed a gut. So, I had to post this, and if people happen to get this email link or this video link, please be advised, I am just one person trying to deal with life on life's terms. It may bore the crap out of people. It may take an hour out of their time listening to a complete fool and idiot, a complete stranger who doesn't know his ass from a hot rock. But I've walked through a lot in my lifetime. That's why I keep doing these damn videos. That's why I keep doing these videos. I'm not a guru. I'm not an expert. No letters like in AA or BA or whatever. 55 years of dealing with shit in life right now as it is. Doesn't amount to much, but to me it does. I'm still trying to get my damn thoughts and my feelings out. If it helps, it helps. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it insults, well. I'm not apologizing for a damn thing I just said. How I think or how I feel. I am what I am. You are what you are. If you happen to go through the same route I am at this point over here of going through the emotions because you just lost a lot of people or special ones that mean a damn thing to you, then maybe this has already helped you on understanding what's going on in your life. Or understanding that, yeah, you had another person out there and you got many more people out there who are still walking this path. It's hard to sell because this is part of being human. There is no way of escaping death. There is no way of escaping the consequences of death. There is no way of escaping the effects of death one way or another. That's part of the life cycle. Just survive. If you find some kind of pleasure in life, enjoy it, celebrate it, worship it if you have to, encapsulate it, capture the moment and savor it. Being perpetual darkness all the damn time after tragedy sucks. I know.